What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? So tonight we're going to be discussing a video that's going to be talking about the moon and how it proves a flat earth. In fact, this right here is the video that we're going to be discussing. Hold on.
All these things are problems. Also, biblically, we know that Jesus even said that the moon shall not give her light, speaking of end time prophecy, meaning that the moon has its own light.
So yes, that's what we're going to be discussing today. This guy, FlatEarthDoctrine, is a Christian that uses his own faith to get people to believe in a flat earth. And if you don't know, I find that particularly disgusting. So that's why we're looking at him tonight, and I hope that you guys will enjoy the show. We also have Today I Learned, as well as Out of Context Comics, and shitty ass science. So I hope that you heathens are prepared, because I know I am.
Alright, so I tried to do this video once before and it failed, mainly because reception issues. I'm out here taking a jog in my neighborhood. I'm trying to see if I can get a focus on the moon. But
No, it's too bright outside. I mean, goddamn. It's too bright outside, plus you got it facing yourself, so, I mean, you've got that dark thing, and then you've got the back, which is brighter. I mean, I'm fairly certain that if you would have just flipped the camera around, maybe it could have adjusted to where you could have gotten a shot of the moon, but with your fucking face in the way, you're not going to get a shot.
if you're outside tonight, go take a look. It's almost a full moon. I don't know if it is exactly a full moon, but it's pretty stinking close, that's for sure. So anyways, that moon right there, it debunks, whether people know it or not, it debunks the globe Earth.
Oh, I'm so glad you've come here with a claim. Now back it up with evidence. Be sure that it's not just bullshit rhetoric or anything that the Bible says. Please give us solid evidence about how the moon actually proves that the globe is not a real thing.
On so many different levels, including its motion and the energy that comes off of it, the visibility of it.
I like how there are so many ways that the moon debunks a globe Earth, but yet, like, when he puts himself on the spot, he can't think of a one, and he has to stumble his way through it. If there are so many ways, you should just be able to pull some out right out your ass, right? And he mentions the motion and the quote-unquote energy that the moon gives off and shit. But the motion definitely doesn't prove that the Earth is flat, and also the moon doesn't give off any kind of fucking energy. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All these things are problems. Also, biblically, we know that Jesus even said that the moon shall not give her light, speaking of end time prophecy, meaning that the moon has its own light. Whereas the heliocentric model says that we're supposed to be getting a reflection off of the sun from the moon.
Well, yes, that's actually how it works. Not your whole end times prophecy bullshit that you just pulled out of the Bible. That shit's not real. We know that the moon reflects light. We can test for that. So I don't understand why you think the Bible has better scientific information than actual testable observational science. Like, I don't understand that at all. I don't understand this particular tact with the flat earth movement, is using the Bible to verify these things. And it's fucking weird to me.
So that would mean and imply that the moon is not its own light, but yet a reflection. But that's not the case. You can get a laser thermometer and test out on a night such as this. Test out, like on the road or whatever, some object you can test out and measure the moonlight, the temperature of the moonlight under the shade versus in direct moonlight, and what you're going to find is that direct moonlight, the temperature is cooler than under the shade, which is just the inverse and opposite of what you'd expect from the light of the sun. So if it was the light of the sun, it should be operating as the light of the sun, but it's not, because it's not the light of the sun.
Okay, so basically the moon reflects about 10% of the light that is shown upon it. And the way that light works, just general light, like it doesn't matter if it's being reflected off of the sun or anything like that, or reflected off of the moon or anything like that. It just basic light, okay? So basically when light hits an object, whether that be a molecule, whether that be a molecule or some other kind of material, what happens is that some of it is reflected back off, but some of it is not. Some of it is absorbed by the object, and when it is absorbed by that object, it transfers into heat energy. So that's why light can only heat something up. Light can never cool anything down, because that energy that's part of that light has to go somewhere. And it doesn't cool anything, it can only heat things up, because using a law that they love to use, the second law of thermodynamics, because that energy gets transferred a little bit into that other object in the form of heat. So, I mean, you have to understand that what you're saying is bullshit just with basic physics. Now, another thing is that I've got a video down below linked that's called Greater Sapien Experiment, or maybe it's called the Moon Experiment. What do I call it? Yeah, Greater Sapien Experiment. You can go and watch that, and Greater Sapien actually does the experiment of testing to see whether moonlight is cool. And what he does is he sets up his experiment. Well, hold on. Let me pause this real quick, because Steve said that lasers, why are lasers so cool? There is a such thing as cooling lasers, but they use some tricky physics and shit in order to make lasers cool shit down. But that's not at all what the moon is reflecting. So I know he was like joking in it, but I did want to address that. He reminded me of the fact that those exist. But anyways, so Greater Sapien has an experiment where he has set up on 2 different nights, one with a full moon and one without a moon, with a new moon, meaning that the moon is not there. And what he finds out is that he gets the same kind of temperature variations on the full moon night as he does with the night with the new moon. So that totally negates this whole idea that the moon has a cooling light. The reason why you get these temperature variations like he's describing here, as if the light from the moon is cooling, is just by basic convection and how heat works on the Earth. Basically, you have like a full day's worth of sun shining on the face of the Earth, and you got a lot of that heat being absorbed into that face of the Earth. So at night, it radiates out. Now, because of the atmosphere and because of any kind of coverage, like any kind of like overhang or anything like that, you will get more cool temperatures out in an open area, because the heat is allowed to disperse faster instead of underneath like a canopy or something. Underneath a canopy or something, you would have the heat that is collected there and thus be hotter. So that's why the moon appears to have a cooling light. It's just the heat being able to disperse faster than underneath some kind of overhang. It's amazing how it takes like 5 minutes to explain why he's wrong about such a simple subject.
Also, you know, it's supposed to be, what, 248,000 miles away? And all of a sudden, recently, it's now in our own atmosphere. I don't know if anyone caught that, but that's amazing.
Okay, so what he's referencing here is the newly discovered fact that our atmosphere actually extends very far past the moon's orbit. And yes, the moon is 248,000 miles away. This is easily testable by being able to ping a laser off of the moon, because we actually left mirrors on the moon for us to do that. But we could ping lasers off of the moon, and just using basic math, we can figure out exactly how far away the moon is. So I get that you think that it's not 240,000 miles away. But the pure fact is that using basic principles of reality, we know that it is that far away. So you're denying all of these basic physics, like facts and shit, like this basic math and stuff. You're denying all of that for the Bible tells me so, is basically what you're saying here. And the weird thing is that you cherry pick where you apply physics and shit. Because you want to use the scientific fact that our atmosphere extends past the orbit of the moon. That's fine. I've got a story linked down below that'll perfectly explain to you why we have come to that conclusion. And you can read that for yourself. But you want to cherry pick when you can use science. And see, that's just not how science works. You either accept the physics that would explain like why our atmosphere extends that far, or you reject that physics. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, so to be a bit more specific, we have detected these very small particles that are part of our atmosphere at ranges that far exceed like the moon's orbit. And we've been able to detect those, making the atmosphere sort of extend very far past. I think it extends out like 600,000 miles or something like that. But it's just particles. It's not like a full atmosphere or anything like that.
Either the moon got closer, which they don't say that, or our atmosphere expanded.
Actually, that's not correct. So the atmosphere didn't expand. It's always been that way. We just now have been able to detect it. 2, our moon does get closer to the Earth because that's how orbits work. You know, some of that basic fucking physics that I talked about. I don't know. Let me play it a little bit.
So now it's in our atmosphere, the moon is, allegedly. But also with the moon, when you watch how it moves, you see it moving in a circular motion with the face of the moon always remaining the same.
Is the mic okay? Okay. Okay. So, basically what Nathan talked about here is that, hold on, I added a limiter filter, and so let me turn those off. Yeah, I know, I'm about to explain that. So, he's talking about how the moon is tidally locked with the Earth. He's not using those words, but that's exactly what it means, or what he's talking about. So with the moon being tidally locked, basically the moon's rotation, it matches in a way with the Earth that as it turns and it orbits, the same face of the moon is going to be facing towards the Earth at all times. That's what it means to be tidally locked with the Earth. Now, to say that we have never seen the backside of the moon is a complete lie. Or, I mean, I guess it's not a lie to him, but he thinks that like pictures of the Earth aren't real and shit like that. Just the general flurfer thing. But he thinks those things. And I'm gonna show you a picture or an image. There you go. So this right here is an image from the Discover satellite. Right now it sits at Lagrange point 1, which is 1,000,000 miles between the Earth and the Sun. It's 1,000,000 miles away from the Earth. And that's where the first Lagrange point is. There's multiple Lagrange points. It's basically a point in space where gravity is neutral. And so that's why it can sit right there, and it can always be pointed at the Earth because it's orbiting at such a speed to where it keeps up with the Earth and stays on that Lagrange point. Now, this is a picture from that particular satellite using the EPIC camera. And this particular picture shows the backside of the moon. This would be the portion of the moon that's facing the sun. So to say that we've never seen the backside of the moon is just totally fallacious.
no one anywhere on the face of the earth is able to see a different side of the moon than what's presented to everyone.
Unless you actually look at the images coming from like the Epic camera on the Discoverer satellite, then you will be able to see the other side of the moon.
So it is moving, yes, in a circuit, and it's also moving, like maybe spinning like this, with the face staying and remaining the same, but it's not rotating on an like spinning so that we can see the other side of the moon. It's not happening.
How though? You're not explaining how, like, or why. Like, why is the moon not doing that? How can you prove that the moon is not doing that? I would love to hear why you think these things. You're not going to actually explain it because you can't. All you're making is a baseless assertion using these assumptions that you've built your entire argument on that are completely and utterly false.
We're always seeing the same side. So there's a lot of problems for the globe Earth model.
I disagree that there's a lot of problems for the globe Earth model in this aspect. Primarily because every bullshit point you've brought up, I've been able to fucking ding your ass on. You fucking idiot!
In respect to the moon, with what we can see, especially when you got like a P900 or a P1000, you can zoom in on that thing like meticulously. And I can't zoom in on anything with my camera that's more than, I don't know, to get any good detail anyways. Anything that's, you know, tens of miles away, you know, so like maybe 50, 60 miles, and that's with the P1000, that's with a really good camera. But yet you can zoom in on that moon, you can see intricate details of the surface of the moon, or whatever we're looking at up there.
Wait, or whatever we're looking at up there? What do you think that could be? I mean, obviously you think it's some kind of disk or something that's not... It's not orbiting, but or rotating, but yet it is rotating and orbiting. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird sort of fucking situation that you've got there. Also, are you trying to say that because we can zoom in on the surface of the moon and we can see some details of the surface of the moon from the Earth, therefore it's close? Like, motherfucker, the thing is huge. Like, it's big. Also, in the night sky, like, it's a small size, but of course you can zoom in on it. You can get telescopes. I have a fucking telescope here. I could go outside and look at the moon and see all the craters and everything like that, but I can guarantee you, you wouldn't be able to see a person on the face of the moon. I mean, holy fuck.
You shouldn't be able to see if it was 248,000 miles away.
Why? Like, why wouldn't we be able to see that? What's limiting our vision from seeing that? If something's big enough and has a big enough angular size, then why shouldn't we be able to see it? As things get bigger, like bigger objects can be seen from farther away. So I don't see what's limiting our vision.
So you got visibility issues. You got the way that it moves is an issue for the globe. You got the type of light that comes off of it is an issue for the globe.
None of those things are actually issues for the globe. None of these things right here actually disprove like anything about a spherical Earth. You're wrong about every fucking thing.
And there's no way anyone ever went to the moon because the alleged Van Allen radiation belts, right? So somehow those astronauts went through it without having any issues in their life.
actually astronauts that are currently in orbit around the Earth, as well as the astronauts that went to the moon, were actually monitored for how much radiation they received. Now, when the astronauts that actually went to the moon went through the Van Allen radiation belts, they had to go through at specific times. Namely, times when the radiation belt would have been the thinnest. Like, you could go through the thinnest portions of it. That's why the schedule for those particular launches were very particular. Why they had to launch on certain dates or they would be pushed back months and months. So the fact that you don't know this just shows that all you heard was the Van Allen radiation belts are preventing us from getting to the moon. When in reality, the Van Allen radiation belts were actually not a problem for us getting to the moon. And the technology that we had at the time was well protected against the radiation that's out there in space. But now, since we don't have that technology anymore because it's obsolete, we have to develop new technology to get out there. And the fact that the Van Allen radiation belts exist mean that we have to develop technology that can withstand that kind of radiation, that amount of radiation. And even though we can get through the thinnest parts, and it will be just as bad as getting an X-ray. I don't know if you've had an X-ray in your life, but the amount of radiation that the astronauts suffered was just about as much as you get from a chest X-ray. So it's not a limiting factor, although it is limiting in that we have to be able to protect our space vehicles from the radiation, but it's not an actual limiting factor that's preventing us, like actively preventing us from even getting outside of low Earth orbit. We just had to develop the vehicles to do it. So it's not so much a problem.
And apparently that's part of the reason why we can't get back to the moon. It's crazy. So I just wanted to share that real quick. So
what's the line from the Billy Madison movie? We are all now more dumb, or was it? We are all now stupider, having heard your brief synopsis of your problems with the spherical Earth. I believe we've all lost IQ points. Huh? Or something like that. I don't know. It's not exact. Hey, you know what? I've got beer. The restorative capacity of beer.
Hopefully this will benefit someone out there. If you guys...
Okay, Nathan Thompson's actually in the chat right now. For anybody watching on the replay, he says just more insults. Typical. I have filled this entire fucking video, this live stream here, with nothing but actual scientific facts to address the points here. I get that you don't accept that, but to say that, oh, just more insults, that's typical, is really not addressing any of the actual points that I've made.
If you don't mind, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you, bud. This is other Nathan from FlatEarthDoctrine, and we will be doing more reviews of his shit. So, what Casey said, they're all the same. One's in a car, one's outside. But let's see. Godless Lady says, I do have a serious question. Can I keep my little devil guy? Little devil guy, I think, is the top one until you get to a year. Maybe. I think so. Anyways. So that's it for the video response tonight. And now we have comments to get to, which I've actually got to pull it up real quick. The Skeptic Mafia comments. But I'm glad that Godless Lady likes the little devil emojis. I think it really solidifies how heatheny we are. Let's see. Before we do that, let me tell everybody else bye. Thank you, heathens, for joining in tonight. I really appreciate you guys joining for the live stream. If you will, please leave me a comment down below with what you thought about Nathan and all of his bullshit. Let me know what your responses would be to all of his points about the moon. I'd love to read those down there. While you're down there, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And hey, also, ding that little notification bell so that you get notified of when we're doing live streams or when I upload videos. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. Except I'm gonna